coming up from the Northeast Live studios in Guwahati. Northeast Tonight with Wasbir Hussain.
Hello and welcome to Notice Tonight, the show that decodes the region. Elections to the 15th Assam Legislative Assembly ended peacefully this evening with two major formations battling it out, the BJP-led Alliance and the Congress-led Mahajot. Over 82% of the 2.33 crore voters exercised their franchise to elect 126 members from among 946 candidates in the fray, including 74 women. BJP strategist Himanta Biswa Sharma predicted 87 seats for his party-led alliance, while the Congress leaders hoped to bag around 80 seats for the Mahajot. But some assessments predict the BJP and its allies would win between 72 to 77 seats. If this is to come true, it would mean that the Mahajot has put up a spirited fight. The polls were fought on two broad narratives. The BJP telling the electorate that this election was aimed at protecting Assam's culture, heritage and tradition, and the Congress saying it was necessary to defeat the BJP and its polarizing politics. But what was also witnessed is the attempt by Congress's ally AIUDF, particularly AIUDF Chief Maulana Badruddin Ajmal, trying to polarize voters by touching upon religious chords. Several questions have also been raised. What would be the fate of regionalism in Assam? Will the Assam Gana Parishad be a boon or a liability for the BJP? What will be the fate of the two new regional parties, the Assam Jatiya Parishad and Rise or Dal? Well, answers to most of these questions will be found on the 2nd of May, the result day. To examine the possibilities, I am joined tonight by former MP Kirip Chaliha. Assam BJP Vice President Swapnanil Baruah is also with me. Joining me also is the State Congress Spokesman Raman. Dr. Rajib Handique, Professor at Guwahati University and a commentator, is also with me, and so is Dr. Vikash Tripathi, also a professor at Guwahati University and a leading political analyst. And also joining me is AIUDF leader and star campaigner Dr. Baharul Islam, who is an academic, joining me from the campus of the Aligarh Muslim University. Gentlemen, welcome to Northeast Tonight. Dr. Baharul Islam, from a distance, you were in Assam campaigning for the AIUDF. Now, of course, you are joining me from Aligarh. Now, from a distance, what thoughts crossed your mind when you saw more than 82% polling in the third phase? We are talking singling out the third phase because that were held, the elections to this phase were held today. And secondly, of course, the demography suggests that this has been a constituency where around half of the seats were strongholds of the Congress and the AIUDF. Do you think this is a spirited fight by the Mahajot?
Yeah, thank you, Wasbir. Yes, it is a spirited fight, and while campaigning also, I have witnessed the same thing. People have come out in large number in public gatherings. And we have also appealed everybody to come out and vote, because this is a democratic process and it is everybody's right to exercise their legal voting right. And the numbers are as predictable. There is always a high number of polling in these centers. But this time there was an equally a kind of, when you are put up with a kind of narrative of civilization, clash of civilization kind of things. So the other day, as I was saying, there is always a reverse of this kind of narrative. So I think the massive turnout in these numbers shows exactly that. So that people have not taken very nicely this kind of comments from various leaders.
You are saying that this has been a highly polarized election on both sides, on both the formations. That's what you are saying.
No, you see, the polarization debate is always an elections narrative everywhere in the world is started by the incumbent, people who are in power. Now people can, because the ball starts with them. They are always the first.
Right, right.
They kick the ball first. So if they start with, say, we have done development for last 5 years, vote for us, then narrative of the opposition will do better for development, remove them. But if you start forgetting your development part, you start with Mughal, Ajmal, and all those kind of things. Obviously, you put the opposition alliance into a kind of defense. So in some quarter, you have to answer those things. You cannot just ignore.
So
Ajmal might have done
polarization.
80%
I'll come to you.
about.
Right. I'll come to you, Dr. Baharul Islam. So what Dr. Baharul
But it is
Islam...
very, just 1 second. It is always very clever to put like polarization happened between X and Y equally. No. The prime ministers and the bigger leaders who have started this kind of thing, the star campaigner or the main leader of BJP in Assam, who started talking about civilization, then you can expect nothing but a counter narrative.
So, in simple terms, Dr. Baharul Islam is saying that there has been polarization and counter-polarization that has marked these elections in Assam. Mr. Kirip, Chaliha, how do you look at elections to the 15th State Assembly has just ended, 82+% polling today. So on the whole, there will be 80% polling if we take an average or even more. We will come to know in a day or two. But what does it indicate? Because there are two theories, whether some say that, if there is brisk polling, if there is a large-scale polling, in that case, a lot of people say that this can be mean either way, whether it is a pro-incumbency vote or an anti-incumbency vote. What do you think has happened?
See, I'll come first to the 82% vote in the third phase, which is in the, I'd say, the minority-dominated areas. Now, as Baharul has also said, I think you called it a spirited fight against fight by the Congress. I have a different perspective. I would, in fact, prefer to say that in this phase of election, the Muslim community of Lower Assam, like in other places also, it was a very spirited and very determined voice of protest. It was a protest vote by the community as a whole. As a whole, I would say, against the humiliations that has been harped on them for quite a long time, which if somebody thought that it will lead to polarization of votes or not, on that I don't like to comment, because we'll know about it on 2nd May. But I know that there is a sense of heart amongst the Muslim community, and I think they have given a very, very compulsively negative voting against the Congress party in this. Now, how this will lead to a counter reaction in the other side, that is to be seen. On that, I can't comment.
Very interesting points which Mr. Kirip Chaliha has raised. We'll expand on that. Mr. Swapnanil Baruah, your party has been saying right from the beginning of this electioneering process that you are winning 100+ seats. But today, your mascot for the polls in Assam, your chief strategist, Dr. Himanta Biswa Sharma, sounded much more practical, much more realistic. He said that the total tally, he put it at 87. He said that in the first phase, 47 seats, you will get 40 seats. That is his prediction. In the second phase, 39 seats, you are going to get 25 seats. And in the 40 seats, third phase, you are going to get 22 seats. Total comes to 87. What do you think?
Well, I think our assessment of our mascot is absolutely correct in the order. And about it, if you are thinking that there's been a massive turnout, I will just give you a few figures which will give you an indication that this time finally it is going to be much more lower than 2016. Let us take Bagbor. The percentage of polling was 88% in the last 2016 elections. It will go to about 85% this time. In Bilasipara West, it was 93% last year. It is not going to exceed 90% this year. In Bongaigaon, of course, is not. In Soigaon, the polling percentage was 90% in 16. It is just touched 82.
No. What are you trying to conclude?
So, what I am trying to say is that this kind of polarization thing that has been tried to be put out is not a fact, and it is just that current issues and the normal apprehension of the people living, especially of the minority constituencies, that the issue of NRC and the issue of thing has been not conclusively closed is the apprehension which they feel. And I think the my reaction or feedback is that these people who are working, especially the labor
Right.
class, who would not be in a very elite educated section, still feel that if they don't vote, they might be deprived of their citizenship rights in Assam. I think that is one feeling which I get.
So
And
voting and citizenship, you mean to say, are
Are-
interlinked issues? There is a fear that if you don't vote, your citizenship might be put to test,
Yes,
or
yes.
you might be questioned as to who you are, why didn't
But-
you not vote, and so on. And that is the reason why the voting percentage is so high
But
in some
is-
of the Muslim, migrant Muslim-dominated areas.
but
That's what.
all said and done is that it is not as high as it was in 2016.
Okay. Let me come to you. I have got two very eminent non-political voices, two very eminent academics in the panel. I'll come to them. But before that, let me go to Assam Congress spokesman, Mr. Raman Jha. Raman Jha ji, ये बताइए कि आपका जो कैलकुलेशन है, आपका एक वन ऑफ योर सीनियर लीडर से हम महाजोत को 80 सीट हासिल होगा. बट पॉइंट इज, डू यू थिंक दिस 82% प्लस जो वोटिंग हुआ है आज, कुल मिला के 3 फेज में टोटल इलेक्शन में ये कहा जा सकता है कि अभी 80% से भी ज़्यादा हो सकता है टोटल एवरेज. ना इसका क्या मतलब हो सकता है आपके हिसाब से?
नहीं, देखिए, जब भी मतदान ज़्यादा होता है तो जो करंट सरकार, जो प्रेजेंट सरकार है, उससे खिलाफ होता है. और ये भी सच है कि बीजेपी ने पोलराइजेशन करने की पूरी कोशिश की थी. खासतौर पे फर्स्ट फेज में जो 47 सीट्स पे चुनाव हुआ था, हर कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी में, हर दिन और हर मीटिंग में बीजेपी के जो नेता थे वो बार बार अजमल का नाम लेके आ रहे थे. लेकिन मैंने देखा कि अपर असम के लोगों ने इसे रिजेक्ट कर दिया इस बार. वो जो मेन पोलराइजेशन इनका था कि 47 सीट्स पे हम पोलराइज कर ले वोट को रिलीजन के नाम पे, जो नहीं हुआ अपर असम में. बगान इस बार पिछले 2016 के चुनाव में बगान पूर्ण रूप से कांग्रेस के खिलाफ था. हमने इस बार देखा है, मैं तकरीबन 1 महीना था ऊपरी असम के दौरे पर, बगान पूरी तरह से इस बार बीजेपी के खिलाफ है. दूसरी तरफ गांव में भी जो लोगों के बीच महंगाई का मुद्दा, बेरोजगारी का मुद्दा, जो निजीकरण, संस्थानों के निजीकरण का जो संस्था है जो हो रही है, जैसे कि आपका NRL का या अन्य संस्थाएं हैं, ये सब चीज़ें लोगों के बीच में आया.
अभी रमन झा जी, अभी कहा जा रहा है, ये सच है या गलत है मुझे मालूम नहीं है, आप बताएंगे. अभी र्यूमर जो है, मैं र्यूमर वर्ड शब्द यूज कर रहा हूं, तो ये भी कहा जा रहा है कि काफी सारे जो टी गार्डन कम्युनिटी लीडर्स है उनको प्लेन में ले जाया गया, राहुल गांधी से मिलाया, फिर दोबारा असम में आया, आकर के इनको, ये जो टीम था जो राहुल गांधी से मिले, उनको बगानों में उनको भेजा गया टू कन्विंस द पीपल इन फेवर ऑफ द कांग्रेस पार्टी. ये क्या सच है?
देखिए, जब कैंपेनिंग करते हैं, जब हम कैंपेनिंग करते हैं तो लोगों के बीच जाएंगे ही. हमने
ये बात सच है कि नहीं कि
तो मुझे
उनको
जानकारी
दिल्ली
मुझे
ले गया
इस बात
था.
की जानकारी नहीं है कि लोगों को यहाँ से प्लेन में दिल्ली ले जाया गया. लेकिन ये सच है कि बगान में हमारे लोग थे, जिस तरह से RSS के लोग भी बगान में घूम के काम कर रहे थे.
नो, वो ठीक
तो
है,
हमारे भी
मैं
छत्तीसगढ़
स्पेसिफिक
से
प्रश्न पूछ रहा था कि
ये मेरे नॉलेज में नहीं है कि बगान के लीडरों को उठा के अभी यहाँ से ले गया था. हाँ, ये जरूर है कि राहुल गांधी आए थे तो बगान के लीडरों से मिले, प्रियंका गांधी आई थी तो बगान के लीडरों से मिली, वहाँ के बगान में जाके वहाँ के कार्यकर्ताओं से मिली.
मैं आपके पास दोबारा आऊंगा रमन झा जी. वी हैव लॉट टू डिस्कस. लेट मी गो टू डॉक्टर राजीव हेंडिक. डॉक्टर राजीव हेंडिक, ऑन द होल, you were there with me during the live coverage during the morning. But what is the sense you get? The BJP saying 100 plus, but today Dr. Himanta Biswa Sharma coming up with a rather realistic assessment or reassessment. He's saying that we'll get 87 seats, and Mahajot is also very confident, saying that we'll get 80 seats. So what could be the factors? What could be the reasons behind these two camps putting out this kind of figures?
Actually, I think we have to wait till 2nd of May for that.
Of
final outcome.
Of course.
But what is important to note is that I think both have agreed. They have conceded to the fact that there is going to be whoever wins, there is going to be a very strong opposition, which is also a necessity for democracy. So I think there will be the winner will be there. Of course, someone will form the government, but I think the opposition will be more stronger than it was last time. That is assured. That is assured. And let me tell one thing. There is, in this last phase of election also, we saw a lesser turnout than in 2016. But that has been the phenomena even in the first and the second phases. So what that foretells or what it indicates, I think it will require some research to find out actually why this has happened, because there is overall a decline of average of 5%.
Dr. Rajiv Handique, I've noted your points. I'll come back to you. Dr. Vikash Tripathi, two interesting points made by Dr. Rajib Handique. He says that whatever is the figures, we'll know on the 2nd of May, obviously. But what he's predicting is that Assam is going to have a very strong opposition this time, number one. Number two, the less voting compared to the 2016 voting figures, as we in the last two phases, it didn't touch the 80% mark, but today we have got 82%. Whether the average comes to 80% or not, it's left to be seen. But my question to you, what are your thoughts, going by the narratives, going by the way the electioneering took place, going by the strengths and weaknesses of the two formations, the BJP formation as well as the Congress-led formation, what is your independent assessment?
Actually, to predict a number is not my job. It would be very difficult also. But one thing is for sure that this is a keenly contested election. And also there is a trend in lower Assam. Generally, the voter turnout is more, and this time it was expected because, like you see, the 8 constituencies in Bodoland territorial region where you find new alliances. So every party is making an effort to bring in voters to the ground, and that speaks for voter turnout in a highly polarized election. Second point is that there is no conclusive study as such which clearly points out that a higher voter turnout really leads to a stronger anti-incumbency sentiments. There are certain specific conditions, like if there is a higher mobilization on the ground before 5 months or 6 months, like what happened in Gujarat in last election. There was a high mobilization in certain regions of Gujarat and there was an increase in voter turnout, and that is how the BJP seat went down. But we don't see any mobilization on the ground in last 6 months. The only mobilization that the state witnessed was consequent to the passage of Citizenship Amendment Act in 2019. But in last 6 or 7 months, high mobilization or a very keen mobilization pattern on the ground is missing. Partly it has to do with the many of the things that the incumbent government tried to do. So that is my limited point, and yes, I suppose it is a very keenly contested election. Right. And it would be very difficult to, even if one is sure about the numbers, it would be very difficult to express it publicly.
Right. It's a very, very significant point also made by Dr. Vikash Tripathi. I'm coming to you, Mr. Kirip Chaliha, but quickly let me go to Dr. Baharul Islam, who had campaigned for the AIUDF by academic, by profession. Dr. Baharul Islam, this is for the first time technically that the Congress and the AIUDF has entered into a alliance. Particularly in there was a talk from 2011, it did not happen. 2016, it did not happen. Finally, it happened in 2021. My question to you, transfer of votes is a crucial factor for any alliance, Do you have some kind of worry somewhere that although you are in an alliance, although all of us are calculating the numbers, considering the vote share between the Congress and the AIUDF in the last elections and just adding it up in simple arithmetic, is it as simple as that? Do you think there will be a problem in the transfer of votes?
No, I don't think so. As far as our reports are concerned from the ground, from the candidates we put up and the other candidates we have campaigned for, the transfer of vote has been absolutely, you can say, mesmerizing. Yes, initial alliance worries happens. For example, in my home constituency of Patarkandi, we have Congress candidate and I have campaigned for him. And the transfer is so good that I myself asked him not to come to areas where UDFs are strong because we are going to transfer him. He should concentrate on his own stronghold of tea garden communities. So that was so assured that you don't have to waste time on UDF areas. We will transfer the whole votes to Congress candidate. And the same thing we expect in other constituencies like Sonai to happen, or in areas in constituencies like Borkhola, Katigoda. The transfer of votes have been absolutely fine, and initial worries, even if some, did not happen at all. I'm happy about that.
Okay, that is what Dr. Baharul Islam feels, that there is no problem as far as transfer of vote. But another point I'd like to bring into this debate, Mr. Kirip Chaliha, is this question which I raised in the beginning. What will be the fate of the regional parties? Is the Assam Gana Parishad going to be a boon, or is it going to be a liability for the BJP? And what do you think about the fate of the two new ones, that is the AJP and the Rajod?
Well, I'd like to take a caveat from your question and could not prevent myself from making one more comment on what has been described about the polarization. I think whatever experience, little experience I have in politics and about Assam, I think Barak Valley this time will see a consolidation of support to the Congress front.
I think even the BJP leaders would concede that.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I think that is taking place. Secondly, Barak Valley is a distinct has a distinct kind of analysis they have the voters. But I have a feeling, and this I had mentioned last time also, that then this has got certain relevance to the regional parties also. You know, the general feeling was that the BJP did not really hit the Mahajot in the places where they would get hurt most.
What are those according to you?
I'll just come to that. Similarly, I don't think the Mahajot also succeeded in hurting BJP where they should have really hit hard.
Can you come to the point?
I didn't see to that.
What are those? What are those?
I'll come to
First of all, what are those?
I'll come to the regional parties now, since you have asked me the specific question.
No, but you cannot left your question unanswered.
People would like to know. Those questions will come after the elections results are out. Many of these questions will come out into the open. I'm leaving it to the public to react first. Now, regional parties, let me tell you, AGP has now been totally identified with the BJP.
Yeah.
Now, AGP, I don't think they have been able to establish any distinct identity as a regional force. So far as a part, even within the coalition, they have stayed. I don't think they have been able to do anything much more than consolidate their own constituencies, individualities and all. They have not been able to give any new ideological turn, or not even a backup to their party. Identity. So far as the other two parties are concerned, there has been as we all discussed it earlier. I think this was just a beginning. They thought that they were going to sweep the elections and wave will come and people will talk about Ka and all that. And unfortunately, Ka, I'll just point out to all my panelists and they will say, the simple solution to Ka was already given by the speech of the defense minister who came here and propagated. I don't think BJP took advantage of that. Neither could Congress take advantage of that. Rajnath Singh ji said, and I was shocked when he said that this is what we had been saying, that Bengalis, if they come as refugees, they can stay in this country, definitely, and we have to see that they stay here. But the whole load cannot come to Assam. That is a solution, simple solution. I don't think there is anything more to deal about it. Now, regional parties accept that. They haven't been able to do much. In fact, I was in a national channel the other day and they asked me, what happened to the foreigners movement and the problem of the infiltration in Assam? You'll be surprised to know, Wasbir, I think you have been noticing it, that I hardly saw this being discussed in the public.
It's not a very big election issue.
And more importantly, it was only when Mr. Amit Shah spoke about it, not in Assam, but in a public meeting in Bengal, that people started taking certain amount of interest in it.
Okay,
so in such a situation, how can you think that the regional parties will create a wave or something and get seats?
Now, I will ask this later to the BJP spokesperson, but to both of you, Rajiv Handique and Dr. Vikash Tripathi. Rajiv Handique, you have been making this point before, but I would still once again in perspective want to ask you, at the end of the day, what Mr. Kirip Chaliha said, that AGP has got totally identified with the BJP. Now, it's stalwarts of the AGP, they have ended their political careers. It seems, it looks like, that is Prof. Kumar Mahanta, Brindaban Goswami, these were among the founders of the AGP. They were nowhere in the scene this time. Now, the present AGP lot, the remaining, they got identified with the BJP. Now in this election is fine. But what will happen in the next election? Can they still continue as AGP? Can they still seek votes? They have lost their identity? What is it going to happen? And what about the BJP? Is it going to be a boon, or is the AGP going to be a liability after 2nd of May if they don't do well?
I think AGP as an outfit, it will be there, and I think they will be winning quite a few seats this time as well. Though the number, I can't say anything now. But, in opposition to that, if we consider Raizordol and the Assam Legislative as the emerging new, regional political outfits, political parties, then it is also necessary that these two parties at least should win at least, half a dozen seats, or at least, some seats, so that they can have a foothold.
Should win?
In the, yeah.
But will they win?
In the assembly. But that is the problem. That is the problem. They did not get much time. They, I think, fielded quite a lot more candidates than perhaps they could manage.
Right.
And so there, the strength that they had, it got dissipated. And I think even the president of Assam Legislative Assembly, Nurindjit Gogoi, could have only, in the last phase of, I think 4 or 5 days, he could campaign in Duliajan. So I think it will be difficult for even Jagadish Bhuiya in Sadia, and they will be facing a very, very tough challenge. And I doubt if it will, whether they will emerge victorious. But for their future, I think it is a necessity that they win a few seats.
Okay. Okay. But the same, hold your thoughts, Rajiv and Dr. Vikash Tripathi, same question goes to you. What do you think about the fate of the regional parties? What could be their relevance?
Yeah, I'm somewhat in agreement with Dr. Kirip Chaliha, sir. The space for regional parties is really shrinking. I'll substantiate with 2 instances. Like you see, there are 3 leaders. I'll just name Nobodole, Bhuban Pegu, Ronoj Pegu. Now all the 3 are in BJP. Earlier they were a strong regional front. Now they have become a part of BJP. So what has happened, that a new coalition has emerged. This is a coalition of compulsion, that since the polarization at the constituency level, where you see a en masse Hindu consolidation, and that shrinks the space for regionalist parties or regional party, which has traditionally revolved around Hindu basis, though they were not Hindutva politics in sense of we see in North India. But if you see AGP, for instance, when it came to power for the first time in 1985, it was a minority government. It could not ever have its majority. And if you see the social base of AGP, it was very few segments of non-Hindu base that was around AGP, and this has been the Achilles heel of all the regionalist party.
Yeah.
So what BJP is really doing is creating a coalition of compulsion, wherein it is trying to consolidate its own base among the ethnic groups, and which is why the space for ethnic parties are shrinking. And secondly, it is retaining minimal alliance. Let us go to BTR. What has happened? Last time in 2016, if you remember, BPF was an ally of BJP. On how many seats did it contest? 12 seats. This time, UPPL is an ally of BJP, and UPPL is contesting on how many seats? 6 seats. And where did the other 6 seats go? It went with the BJP. So the point is that BJP is now expanding its own territorial footprint. It's a very aggressive
expanding
strategy.
its turf. So that's a very, very interesting
and
point. I'll come to
one point.
Yeah.
You see, what Tripathi has said, it should be heard by especially the Congress party. What Congress party did was, they gave the entire space and organization in BTR areas to the regional party, and they abandoned themselves. Whereas BJP is doing something different.
Okay, let me ask the Congress.
There is complementarity to this.
Let me ask the Congress spokesman Raman Jha. Two things. एक तो अभी हमारे पैनलिस्ट बोल रहे हैं कि मिस्टर किरीप चलिया कह रहे हैं कि BTR में आपने यू ऑलमोस्ट एब्डिकेटेड, आपका कोई प्रेजेंस अभी नहीं है, आपने कॉन्टेस्ट नहीं किया सीट्स एक. एंड सेकेंडली जो फर्स्ट फेज में आपने ब्रह्मपुत्र वैली में कोई रीजनल पार्टी के साथ आपने कुछ अलायंस करने में सफल नहीं रहे. यू डिडंट हैव एन मेन स्ट्रीम alliance with a mainstream regional party. Now, aapka, yes, you have a last minute alliance with the BPF, we acknowledge that. And if you say, you can also, ye bhi aap keh sakte hai ki AIUDF bhi regional party hai. तो वो भी, but point is, you do not have a regional ally in the Brahmaputra Valley heartland. You do not have a regional ally, I mean, anywhere. So that is the point which we are making.
देखिए अपर असम में आप जो कह रहे हैं रीजनल पार्टी के साथ हमारा अलायंस नहीं हुआ. सबसे पहला बात है कि अपर असम में पिछले दिनों में हमने देखा कांग्रेस एक स्ट्रॉन्ग पोजीशन में था. दूसरा चीज़ जो रीजनल वोटर्स आपने एजीपी का बात कर रहे हैं और एजीपी, तो एजीपी को खड़ा करके बीजेपी ने बैकडोर से चाहा था कि एंटी का वोट जो है वो डिवाइड हो, लेकिन ये उनको उल्टा पड़ रहा है क्योंकि एजेपी जितना भी वोट काट रही है या जहाँ भी वोट ले रही है वो एजेपी के वोट ले रही है.
कैसे कह रहे हैं कि एजेपी को बीजेपी ने खड़ा किया है?
ये तो आपके मंत्री भी कर रहे हैं, बीजेपी के मंत्री भी कर रहे हैं कि एजीपी इज द बी टीम, और उन्होंने कहा है. लेकिन मैं एक चीज़ कहूँगा कि एजीपी रीजनल सेंटीमेंट का जितना भी वोट लेगा वो एजीपी के वोट को नुकसान करेगा. हाँ, कुछ जगह में हमारे वोट भी काट सकते हैं, बीजेपी के भी वोट काट सकते हैं. एजेपी के मैदान में होने से अपनी असम में मुझे फायदा हो रहा है. अब पूरी असम में एजीपी की वजह से हमें फायदा हो रहा है कि बहुत जगह ऐसा वोट है जो एजीपी अलायंस के कारण बीजेपी को जो वोट मिलता था वो एजीपी लेके जा रहा है. तो इसका फायदा हमको 2 मई को जब बक्सा खुलेगा तो आप देखिएगा कि इसका फायदा भी कांग्रेस को मिलेगा. और दूसरी चीज़ है कि रीजनल पार्टियां में हमारे साथ हैं, आपके अजीत भैया की पार्टी है, सीपीएम सीपीआई.
True, but आप यही कहेंगे.
I have to say something. I have to add a sentence.
Yes, please.
Being in Congress for some time, little connection,
little more than 35 years. Yes, tell me.
45 years.
A little more than 45 years.
But
for some time.
Let me tell you, no, that was meant to be a very serious effort to get certain regional people to support Congress. Now these people, they sat down on top of the Congress party, they didn't have any base of support, wanted to, where do you use the Congress party to get political dividends? Nothing to Congress party.
नहीं देखिए.
Okay, let Swapnanil Baruah.
I thank them. And we'll know about it on 2nd May also. Jajid, 2 तारीख के बाद हम लोग बात करेंगे.
बात करेंगे, जरूर बात करेंगे. Swapnanil Baruah,
हम तो ऐसे भी बात करेंगे, चिंता मत
I
करिए.
don't think I should comment at this stage as to what is going to happen. We just have to wait for another 21 days. But the thing that you are talking about is Barak Valley Congress gaining over BJP. It is not that. We have discussed about the issue. There will be a change of seats, but our 8 which we had before will be +2 and there will be -2. So
okay,
overall
we are not talking numbers.
Overall, I think we are going to remain there. And as I said,
our best feelings
I don't think it has not.
I think you need very strong best of luck from me on this.
Anyway, all luck is accepted.
So
Fortune favors
you
the brave.
have already got a very strong quote unquote best of luck from Kirip Chaliha. That matters a lot. I'll have to go for a break.
But just before you go for a break, I would again like to point to the issue that BJP expanding its area and making it inclusive is the 6 seats that we are contesting under the BJP banner in minority constituencies is a great beginning if you see. And I think it's going to pay dividends in the coming years.
No, but before I go for the break, let me quickly once again go to Dr. Baharul Islam. Dr. Baharul Islam, you see, Lower Assam is fine, but don't forget the 12 seats in the BTR, the 13 seats in the BTR, the 4 districts. Now, AIUDF was also a player along with the Congress in the BTC election. Now, the result was very, very dismal, very, very disappointing for both you and your alliance partner, the Congress. Now, of course, you didn't contest many seats. So that big region is gone. The Upper Assam region is not with the AIUDF to a great extent. You are only depending on the Congress. Now, do you think everything you will be able to make up from these 40 seats which went to the polls today?
Yeah, I think that was the point of alliance, that we consolidate our resources in our strongholds, and with plus minus here and there, all the opposition parties who are together in the alliance, they should help each other and devote their resources in their
Yeah,
stronghold.
but
And I think that worked.
But your strongholds, Dr. Baharul Islam, is between 13 to 20 seats. Your
Yeah,
strongholds.
that we agree, and that's what we say. You see, there is always a paradoxical. On one side, this is Ajmal's party, all Muslims together, and this is a party. And again, on the ground, people say that we are not all over the Assam. So how Ajmal could become chief minister? Ajmal is going to be chief minister. That demonization. Now you are yourself refuting that. We never been.
I didn't make that allegation.
Strong party.
I didn't demonize Ajmal.
Yeah. No. I said your your assessment. You are saying we are weak in many areas. Upper Assam. So a party fighting 19 seats suddenly become. It is a kind of Ahmad.
I'll have to go for a break. I'll have to go for a break. But Dr. Baharul Islam, I'll have to go for a break. A very short question to you from Mr. Kirip Chaliha, and a very short answer. Yes, Kirip Chaliha. Short question.
Baharul Islam ji, my very pertinent question is, hasn't AIUDF gained the most from this alliance? Because now, next time Congress party cannot dub AIUDF to be an agent of BJP, number one. And number two, they have to now accept that you are a stronger secular force having the support amongst the minorities.
Okay, Baharul Islam, respond quickly.
Kirip, we can talk about this after the election, but yes, both have gained, and we have also taken some risk. If anything goes wrong, Congress will dump it on us. So it can't boast the way.
Okay, that's a very fair. I think that's a very frank assessment. If anything goes wrong, the Congress has the chances of dumping it on or blaming the BJP. I'll get a response from Raman.
15 years we have been a B team of BJP. This time I don't know.
At this point in time, I'll go for a break. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. We are at a very interesting discussion on the possibilities. That is what we do during discussions. But at the end of the day, until we wait for the 2nd of May, we can only have the trends and assessments to do. But the point is, let me go once again to Dr. Rajib Handique. Dr. Rajib Handique, we have been asking this question again and again and again. Now, Baharul Islam talked about the demonization of AIUDF leader Badruddin Ajmal. Now, the question is, a lot of people are saying that if the Congress would not have had an alliance with the AIUDF, the BJP would not have got an issue to target the Congress and the AIUDF with so vociferously, so fiercely. Do you agree with this assessment?
Let me tell you, actually, Wasbir, that, now the election is over. I think we can talk about these things.
Yeah.
Any election that is fought today, we are, under a sort of a paradigm, of global forces. In your program, I have told, the populism which is there, in both the manifestos. Congress trying to outdo even the BJP by assuring 2,000 rupees to housewives.
Yes.
So, that is one part of it. This is one, I think I look at it from the point of, the global paradigm. And the other is, we have to understand one thing, that this election is being fought in an era of post-truth. Post-truth is the reality, is the real truth today, where belief, not the truth actually, belief is, something which is projected as a reality. And we all know, in fact, in the heart of hearts, people understand that Badruddin Azman is not going to, or in any case, he will not be accepted as the Chief Minister of Assam. He cannot be the Chief Minister of Assam. Yet, that has been, projected in a way, and a very clever way, that, as if he has been blown out of proportion, I would say. It's true that he caters to, he does a type of politics, but that politics is taken to a level where, it's blown out of proportion. And you see, and in that, public opinion, it's built up on the belief that, this can happen actually.
Let me ask this to Swapnanil Baruah. Rajib, let me ask this to Swapnanil Baruah. Swapnanil Baruah, the day the Congress AIUDF alliance was announced in Assam, do you think that the most happy people were the people in your party, that is the BJP?
Well, definitely that it was a combination of, what we call tel and pani. But tel and pani were trying to be sold off as, oil and water never mix. They always gel with, you can put them in one bottle, but really they cannot be a part of each other. So that was very convenient politically for us. And also talking about the Congress, I don't know, Wasbir, whether you are aware that the 5 guarantees given in the Barak Valley were quite different from what was given in the Brahmaputra Valley. Because there was no mention of car in the 5 guarantees that they talked about, the advertisements that came out in the Barak Valley issues of the paper. There was no mention of car, there was a lot of things were quite different.
Okay, I'll bring in Raman Jha on this, but Mr. Baharul Islam, tel and pani, water and oil do not mix. So what was the pull factor of the AIUDF to align with the Congress? Was it just one issue? Okay, whatever is the alliance, the target is one and it's a simple target, defeat the BJP.
No, it cannot be so. As a political party, we cannot just target one political party or alliance and form a coalition. It's an overall degeneration of politics to division of society and minds. That's what hurt us. The Mias and Bangladeshi, these kind of terminologies has been used for a long time, even before BJP came to the scene. But to the level we have been reduced to, large part of population of Assam. This has really made people enough is enough. We cannot even see each other. We almost, there is a counter-demonization. I see all my counterparts and everybody is hating me and everybody see I am hating them. So overall that has been a kind of, you can say, suffocating atmosphere which has been created, and that made that at least we should keep some fresh air coming. And that's where the alliance has come. It is not only, otherwise we could have done this alliance even much before, Congress would have come much before. But it is now, it is an overall cohesiveness of Assam. It is a strong Hindustan kind of atmosphere, is never been home to Assam. Assam has been always been known for its Sufi kind of background.
Yes. Swapnanil Baruah.
What I feel is that the Congress and the AIUDF has been trying to project this martyrdom kind of a thing. That we have been prosecuted against, we have been constantly being segregated, we have been pushed to a corner. And I think that narrative works possibly very well in the immigrant areas, and that is why we have been seeing for the last 40 years, ever since the 83 elections, this kind of a narrative is being tried to be put in by the Congress party, which has now been joined by the AIUDF. It is not really working to their benefit or to the overall benefit of the society. That if you try to segregate and put up a martyrdom kind of a image, it is not going to get you anywhere, as we have seen in the last 40 years.
Just for 10 seconds, it is the same kind of argument given whenever a women community or a Dalit community raises their voice, that you are trying to become victim, you are trying to do that. So that argument has long been overused and abused.
Vikash Tripathi?
Anybody who
Vikash Tripathi, Baharul Islam is saying, one of the driving force factors for the AIUDF to align with the Congress, I am coming to Raman Jha also to get his perspective. Baharul Islam is saying one of the driving force, one of the pull factors of the AIUDF to have an alliance with the Congress is this targeting, as he says, of the Mias and the Bengali-speaking Muslims of migrant descent, saying that, oh, you're Bangladeshis and this and that. So, do you agree with this kind of a feeling? Do you think that is going to polarize and that is going to reflect in the 2nd of May?
Actually, see, the polarization is right there since 2014. If you see the assembly segment-wise distribution and you locate Congress and AIUDF, you would clearly find where is Congress located and where is AIUDF located. It is all minority-dominated constituencies, which speaks for the consolidation and polarization. Now, my second point is that, political pragmatism guided Congress and AIUDF to forge a coalition. But it was a half-hearted coalition, and which left a lot of space for BJP to really attack upon this alliance. Firstly, Congress should have contested on lesser number of seats than it is contesting, particularly in Upper Assam, and should have aligned with the regionalist forces. One thing that
Congress, see, Vikash Tripathi, Congress has been telling the AJP and the Raijodol, please come and join us. But the Raijodol and Ahom Jatiyo Parikhad, they refused. They said that we will be equidistant from the BJP as well as the Congress.
Yeah,
so which was the other regional force available for the Congress in Upper Assam?
Yes. So that is one weakness that the alliance could not happen. Second is really the resolving the leadership crisis. Why is BJP continuously attacking Ajmal? Because this alliance has no leader. Suppose you are contesting and you don't have a leader, so and Ajmal becomes a figure of polarization considering the nature of politics in Assam since 2006. So had they decided upon a leader to take upon and to take upon this thing, it would have been easier for the alliance to sail through. So I think these three have been the Achilles heel. First is not having, whatever be the reason, but not having a regionalist force on
As
board in Upper Assam.
Will cost the Congress heavily.
Yes, contesting on more seats, and third is not resolving the leadership crisis in the state.
रमन जी, हमारा टाइम बहुत कम है, क्या कहना है आपको?
नहीं, देखिए, कांग्रेस में जो कहने की लीडरशिप की कमी है, ऐसा नहीं है। हमारे पास बहुत लीडर हैं। हाँ, लीडर की कमी आप कह सकते हैं कि ये कह रहे हैं कि अपर असम में जिसका हमको नुकसान हो रहा है या कहीं भी हो रहा है, तो मैं आपसे यही कहूँगा कि अपर असम में इस बार जो वोट को पोलराइजेशन की बात चल रही कहीं भी नहीं हुआ, क्योंकि अपर असम को लोगों को मालूम है वो बढ़िया से, क्योंकि वहाँ माइनॉरिटी का पॉपुलेशन ही बहुत कम है। दूसरी चीज़ है कि आप बीजेपी के इलेक्शन फेज से आप देख लीजिए, 3 फेज में उन्होंने किस तरह से सेग्रेट करके इलेक्शन करवाया था, और बीजेपी का के इशू को छू नहीं रही है। अगर उन्हें लगता है कि का बहुत अच्छा काम है और हम बीजेपी ने का ला के अच्छा काम किया है, तो उन्हें 10 संकल्प में से का को भी रखना चाहिए था। कांग्रेस पार्टी ने का विरोध, स्टैंड ही उनका विरोध किया, हमने विरोध किया का। तीसरी चीज़ है कि रीजनल पार्टी, मैंने पहले भी कहा था कि रीजनल पार्टी कहीं भी हमारा नुकसान नहीं कर रही है। कांग्रेस ने जरूर कहा था कि बीजेपी के खिलाफ जितने भी दल हैं जो चाहते हैं कि बीजेपी को हम सत्ता से बाहर करें, उन्हें हमारे साथ आना चाहिए, लेकिन इसमें एजेपी और आइजर दल हमारे साथ नहीं आया। चलिए, मैं इसके बारे में तो अब कुछ नहीं कहूँगा कि आज चुनाव का अंतिम दिन था और चुनाव भी खत्म हो गया। दूसरा चीज़ है कि बीजेपी को लगता था कि जहाँ जैसे सेंट्रल जो सेकेंड फेज के चुनाव में कि इनको लगता था कि सबसे ज़्यादा पोलराइजेशन यहाँ होगा, क्योंकि सबसे ज़्यादा पोलराइजेशन ये यहाँ कर रहे थे। लेकिन यहाँ भी आपने देखा कि वोटिंग परसेंटेज हाई हुआ है, और सेकेंड फेज के चुनाव में इनको सबसे ज़्यादा नुकसान हो रहा है। थर्ड फेज में तो नुकसान है ही, सेकेंड फेज में भी नुकसान हो रहा है। तो ये इनका पोलराइजेशन का, लोग अब मैं पहले ही कह रहा हूँ कि लोग जब जागृत हो रहे हैं, अब एजुकेटेड हो रहे हैं लोग, इन्हें विकास डेवलपमेंट का इशू चाहिए, इन्हें एम्प्लॉयमेंट का इशू चाहिए, इन्हें महंगाई का इशू जो है चाहिए, लेकिन इस पे बीजेपी साइलेंट है। उन्होंने अपने 2016 के कोई भी वादा को
Yeah, final comments from you, Swapnanil Baruah. I'm coming to Chaliha. Yes.
I think
why did you not put Ka in one of your 10 sankalp in your sankalp patra?
Well, as we have already been saying that the Ka is no longer an issue for us, and if you look at the advertisement which I am carrying of the Congress party in Barak Valley, there is no mention of Ka there also, because it's very inconvenient for them.
एक चीज है, कांग्रेस ने जो 5 गारंटी दिया है,
यही 5 पढ़ के सुनाऊं आपको।
मैं आपको 10 संकल्प सुनाऊं।
स्वप्निल बरुआ जी का कहना है कि 5 गारंटी जो आप दिया है, ये बाराक वैली के लिए अलग है।
नहीं, हम हमारे लिए देखिए, असम में या कांग्रेस,
हाँ जी सुनिए, आपने ये देखा नहीं, ये सरकारी डॉक्टरेट तृतीय और चतुर्थ श्रेणी पदे नियोग क्षेत्रे बराकेर ছেলেরে অগ্রাধিকার দেওয়া হয়। গ্যারান্টি নাম্বার 1 কাঁচার কল,
I have no time.
कांचा कॉल,
sorry, ये बताइए, आपने 351 रुपए का जो वादा किया था बगान को, आपने 351 का वादा किया था पिछले साल, वो कहीं आपके संकल्प में नहीं है। आपने बगान को तो पूरा ही
Kirip Chaliha,
बाहर कर दिया।
Final comments. I'm absolutely running. Sorry about that. Absolutely. Final comments.
This has been an interesting election. Now, Congress and AIUDF you raise all kinds of questions. I request you next time to call both the AI Congress and AIUDF representative and ask them what are exactly your points of differences. Do you have any points of difference, any ideological differences? Then what is happening? Number one. Number two, this election will be remembered as, don't forget that I think it was my friend here who was mentioning about, you know, in 6 months में कोई political activities नहीं हुआ. Let us not forget COVID. COVID also played a great role. Now COVID may again play a great role after tomorrow or so, or if not after Bihu. Now COVID in the जैसे बोलते हैं कि ऊपर में COVID, नीचे में health minister, and उसके नीचे the whole party, all parties, according to his tune. This may go on.
Okay, I'm absolutely running out of time. Baharul Islam, final comments, 20 seconds. Sorry.
Yeah, I think politics and alliance politics particularly is an ongoing narrative or ongoing. It is a continuum. So it is only a padav hai. It is just an episode in Assam. Many experiments will happen and we'll get those results, and perhaps the history will tell which course we take.
Absolutely.
But these experimentations are lively, democratic, and healthy for any democracy.
Yes, these experimentations are lively, healthy, and democratic. Yes, Rajiv, Handique, 20 seconds to you.
Yeah, it's a very, very, closely contested election. Hats off to the election commission for ensuring a very peaceful election. And also, we salute the people of Assam, the voters of Assam, who have very peacefully actually cast their votes. They have exercised their democratic rights.
Right.
And again proving that Assam is a place of harmony, it's a place
absolutely.
of
Absolutely. No doubt about that. No doubt about that.
We did not have
No doubt, Rajiv Handique.
Even during partition.
Yeah, absolutely, Rajiv Handique. Rajiv Handique, I have to cut you short. Sorry about that. Vikash Tripathi, final comments from you.
Yeah, it's a keenly contested election, and one ramification would definitely be that it would end the political untouchability that AIUDF has been facing for so long. As it has become coalitionable, as Congress has already aligned with AIUDF, so AIUDF would be at the center of politics, and in time to come, the politics may be more competitive in Assam than one can assume today.
Absolutely. The party to watch will be the AIUDF. That's what Dr. Vikash Tripathi feels. The party to watch also will be the AGP, whether they would be able to sustain their strength, whether they will be facing a rout, or whether they will be getting less seats. That will determine their clout within the coalition if the BJP wins. That is point number 2. And the AJP and the Rajodol, we might stay. They'll be there to stay even if they don't win or don't win enough seats. I think nobody can say that they will be a spent force. They have just started and they might consolidate in the years ahead. At the end of the day, no one can deny that this has been a very, very keenly contested battle. All eyes will now be on the 2nd of May when the results are going to be declared. In between, of course, the political leaders, the candidates, 946 candidates who were in the fray, including 74 women, they will not know what to do in the next 21 days. They will perhaps go on a holiday. They will perhaps make up for the lost sleep. They will perhaps do their arithmetic on and on again and again. And that is how they are going to spend the day. But we at Northeast Live will be focusing back on the northeastern region as we prepare for Result Day on the 2nd of May. I thank all my panelists for participating in this debate and the viewers for watching the show. Good night and goodbye.